Welcome to Onboarding Checklist Hacking Session. Hey, I'm Eric, and one of the new features we got in version 18 was the Onboarding Checklist Guided Experience thing on the Role Center that will help users get started whenever they need to create a new company. And it looks pretty cool. So I want to figure out how that's working, how they create it. Can I use it for anything? So follow along and we'll see where this takes us. I suggest that while I get ready, you go subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. That helps me a lot, and I appreciate it if you would do it. Anyway, let me locate my Business Central. Here it is, and I'm on a cloud sandbox today. I created a new company and I just opened a new company and I am greeted with this. The get started. Hi Eric, ready to set up your business. We prepared a few activities to get you and your team quickly started. It looks nice. There's some graphic things. I guess I can close it to make it go away. I can click get started. Here's a few steps that make you ready for business. Ready for business. Central. Skip checklist, your checklist, company details, update user. So I even got a little how long it will take me to do it. Migrate data, that takes 15 minutes, then you're done. That's perhaps a bit optimistic, dear Microsoft. But hey, you can always be hopeful. Microsoft Learn, 10 minutes, then you have learned everything on Microsoft Learn. Anyway, that's nice. There's a checklist, and so what happens? Company details. I hit start. Ooh, I know this one. This is the assisted setup for new company. So this was usually you were greeted with let's set up your new company, and then you'll get this. So that's kind of just an extra layer. So now I touch it, I can mark it complete. Yes, no, skip for now, revisit, update. Okay, so now I can't do anything until I say skip for now. You skip this step. Okay, fetch users. Let me try that. What happens here? Okay, so I think I know what they're doing. So this guy is, so if you go to users, you go to process, you'd say update users from Microsoft 365. So the synchronization between, if you assign licenses to users, then you can pull the updated entitlements and permissions into Business Central. Okay, so I think I know what it is. So basically this checklist is kind of a pointer to different spots in the system that we could use. Okay, so let me check here. So I am on the Business Manager Role Center. So let's find that. So here is I just opened a new app and downloaded a simple. So let's let's go back. This was the Business Manager Role Center, right? I think it was Business Manager. So that, yeah, Business Manager. So the Role Center ID, which is the page object that this Role Center is using, is 9022. So let's find 9022 in pages, the Business Manager Role Center. And what we have this thing, and then we got hang on, this is interesting. So the first thing we see on the page of normal stuff is activities, but so here is the headline control. The first thing we see on the object is the headline control, but I just realized the headline the biggest something and most orders, or those headlines, they're gone. They're not here. So something remove the headline and put in the checklist and said, can I get my headlines back? What happens here? Add field. There's nothing to add, and there's nothing that has been company hub is hidden, setup guide topics is hidden, my job queue is hidden, and this empty thing is hidden. So my headlines are gone. Interesting. Okay. Let's look at this one again. So headline, activities, user task, emails, approval. So this is all the normal stuff. There's nothing in here about onboarding checklists. Okay. I think though that at some point I saw an object. So let's clear this one. Let's search for checklist. Intrastat. No, that's not it. Let's go and use all. So the tool I'm using here to browse around in objects we get from symbols is the fantastic, cannot praise this enough, the AZAL dev tool / AL code outline. Well, I could criticize the name. I think the name is not really sufficient from what it's actually doing for me. So this would be the essential AL tools, awesome essential AL tools. Andres, who made this, has done a tremendous good job, and I use it hourly. I wouldn't even say daily. I use this hourly. This is just awesome. So thanks, Andres. This is fantastic. So anyway, that's what I'm using here, and yeah, this is the one I remember. 1997 was a good year. I was living in Florida at that point. So the checklist events. Let's see what we have here. So event subscriber and some local functions. So the event subscriber is login management on after login start. Makes sense. What if not session in the client type in web, Windows, desktop, get away. If not, checklist should initialize checklist, then get out. Otherwise, initialize guided experience items, initialize checklist, mark checklist, set up as done. So there's a code unit called checklist, but we did not see a code unit called checklist here. Okay, let's check this. So there's a function called initialize checklist. You see guys, this is it. Checklist.insert, guided experience type, assist the setup, guided to a manual, guideline, then an object type and an object ID and something. These numbers are clearly an order of things. And then there's a couple of other parameters, and I can see that this one is building a temporary table of the roles. That's probably fine. That's probably to define what roles this checklist should show up in. Well, anyway, so clearly we need to go poke around for the code unit called checklist. And it was not in base app. So the next good place to go poke around is in System App. So remember that Business Central is built, what Microsoft delivers now is a bunch of objects. So objects is the wrong word, a bunch of extensions. So if we go into extension management here, we can see that that's the app I'm just working on now. We can see that there's a bunch of stuff here. But unless I'm blind, I don't see any specific app related to onboarding, checklist, guided experience, stuff like that. So I think what we need to do is look at the, so what Microsoft, in reality, they deliver two apps, three apps, but mainly two. Base app, which is the accounting application, and System app, which is generic functionality that supports the accounting application. And let's open System app and figure that out. So we apply the same filter again, checklist. And bingo, let me just do an alt here because we were looking, oh, see, now we have all the goodies. There is the one we're looking for, the code unit checklist. We double click and we don't get any source. That's because it's System app, and System app is the symbols are different. So what we need to do is that we need to go, and I had this suspicion, so I opened the browser tab before I started the video. We have to go to GitHub. So System app is open source. And what does open source mean? Well, open source means that, yeah, it's open source and you can take the code and use it elsewhere, but this is AL code and there's very, very few platforms that actually are able to execute AL. Currently, they are all Business Central, and Business Central is certainly not open source. So System application is primarily open sourced for Microsoft to be able to receive code. By making something open source, then they can accept code from others. In the old days, it was really hard for us. If we had a great piece of code and said, Microsoft, here, take our code. That's difficult, and lawyers and licenses and all sorts of crazy stuff. So that almost never happened. But now it can happen. So think about System application being open source primarily as a means for Microsoft to be able to get your code. And there's a video on that. So go look at that. We have on the channel here, we've made some changes to this guy. Anyway, that was a sidetrack. So we are looking for checklist. So I can here on GitHub type T, and then I'll search for checklist, and we can see module system guided experience checklist code unit. Excellent. So let's take a look at this guy. So this is checklist, insert guided experience type, object type to run, object ID to run, order ID as we predicted, temp all profile, record all profile, and temporary should everyone complete. That's the last Boolean. So you can set up a checklist for, I guess, if false, the checklist item will be marked as complete for everyone, even if only one person completes it. Interesting. So I guess there's also an overload. There's an overload where you can specify a user. But I think something has gone wrong in. Am I blind, or is the? No, I'm good. Yeah. Okay. So you can also specify a user if somebody specific should do this. Anyway, we're still trying to figure out how this thing made its it appear on the role center, and what happens to our headlines? So let's go out and look at guided experience. And you see, this is a version 18 thing now. So there's a permission set as AL code. There's actually two permission sets. It looks like a read permission set and a it's called view, but clearly it has insert, modify, and delete permissions. So not quite only view. Okay, that's a rabbit hole I do not want to go into. So here is checklist. Also, but hang on, checklist banner. This could be a banner, right? This is kind of a banner. I think that we are on the right track here. Checklist banner page. Page type card part. Temporary extensible false. So that's okay. So almost perhaps all pages in system app cannot be extended, which is kind of annoying. I totally get it that if you have a page with sensitive information, like a page for the password to CRM or stuff like that, hey, that page should not be extendable. But a lot of other pages can certainly be extended without any security issues and so on. So that's kind of okay. How to put this nicely? No, I don't think that's a way. Let me read this for you. Important. Do not change the name of any of the fields on this page. The client will not be able to render the page properly otherwise. What they are basically saying here that, well, this page is not a real page. This page is getting rendered by something that's hard-coded that expects a field called title, a field called header, a field called description, a field called title collapsed and header collapsed, and so on. A repeater called checklist with these fields in. So basically what we're seeing here is hard-coded. And I think that I don't think there's anything in here that say, hey, we need to go on to certain screens. I think this one will bluntly show up on any role center, and I guess if there's a headline thingy, it will remove the headline. If there's no headline, I don't know what it will do. But so it's kind of a beef I have with a a development platform which is 90% open. That's a random number, but let's say that's mostly open. Then Microsoft go and do stuff like this. It's kind of the same thing we saw with the email HTML editor, that hey, it was magically appearing on some pages, but that was done on the client, so you couldn't access and use it from AL. It's kind of breaking the tradition of this being a completely open application for developer, because this stuff is not Microsoft. If I create a role center, I don't think I can prevent that I can prevent this guy from showing up. Anyway, sorry, this should not be a rant, but let's see if we can add our own twist to this guy. So clearly we have a checklist, and we have seen that there is code somewhere here that can impact what we see on the checklist. So how about we end this video with a hack? Let's copy this code unit, go in and add a new file, checklist with a k.al. I'll paste this guy in, and let's just give it a new number, our checklist events. We don't care about, want to subscribe to the same place. We don't care about all this stuff. And the only thing we care about, let's just insert one here. What should we insert? How about the general ledger setup? And if we go back here, we have company details and update users. So those order, if we company details was the one we copied, so that was 1,000, and so this is 2,000. So let's put it, see if we can put it in between. And all profiles, and doesn't have to be done by everybody. We'll just leave the rest of this. Great hack, we just copied some code. So I'm deploying, and usually when I do videos I always use a Docker image, simply because mostly because deployment is way faster on the Docker than with the what a Cloud Sandbox. But I thought I would do a Cloud Sandbox here to kind of run on whatever bits Microsoft. I'm not sure if this looks different in the Docker Sandbox. So this one will deploy in just a second. Hopefully 2 seconds, 1 second. There we go. And I think it will open the customer list. So let's get rid of that. Go back to the role center and see. And nothing happened. Interesting. So, but is that because we already did? So I think I have another company here. Let's see what happens in that one. I just opened some random companies. Haha! See here we go. So now we got our general ledger set up. So apparently, if it's already initialized, it won't get initial. I don't know. I need to look into that closer. But we define how to manage your company's finances. I guess, is that a tooltip on the general ledger? On that page, can we go and look at that page? Define how to manage. I have no idea where. So we specify a page and define how to manage your company's finance. That sounds like a good description for the general ledger setup. I'm not sure where it got that text from though. Interesting. If I click start on this, I get the general ledger setup. So that works pretty well. Hey, I can see this is awesome. If you have an app and you know that your users need to do something when they create a new company, you can add yourself to the checklist. It should probably be done with a bit more finesse than the way I did it right now, but clearly it's possible, and I can certainly see that for some of my apps that would be be a good idea, and something I'm gonna check on. Anyway, I think this is a great spot to end the video. Too bad that Microsoft does this half. I have to say that instead of actually giving us the means to do something, also the UI part, it's only the end list, and then it seems that I would ask, I would love for them to do this in a more generic way, so we would have options to do stuff like this. I can certainly see this concept not only on a role center, but in other pages, that the first time you go into something, hey, be aware that you need to do the following, give them a checklist, and yeah, there's lots of great things we could do with this. So hopefully they loosen the grip and remove the hard-coded parts or relocate them into some place where they're not as hard-coded. Anyway, I love the concept of the checklist, and I love that we can add stuff to it ourselves. I will be using that, I'm sure of that. Anyway, that's the hacking session for this time. Let me know in the comments below if there's something I missed. Let me know if there's something else that you really need me to look into, or that you would like me to look into in version 18. I'm slowly working my way through all the new stuff that's there, and yeah, some of it makes it into a video and something is not, unless you ask for it. So have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video.